Hello, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another video. If you are new to this channel, my name is Frank Zhu, and I'm a college professor teaching sociology, history, and philosophy. I'm also an award-winning landscape photographer. We social scientists have always been interested in studying intimate relationships. We examine how two individuals interact, form close bonds, and maintain affectionate connections with each other. Today, I'd like to talk about one type of such intimacy, that is, romantic relationship. But first of all, what is a romantic relationship? Well, I define it as a deep connection between two individuals which is based on emotional and physical attraction and which is intended for long-term companionship. By the way, a romantic relationship is different from an erotic relationship because the latter focuses primarily on sexual desire and physical attraction rather than companionship. A romantic relationship is also different from a platonic relationship because the former involves physical intimacy, whereas the latter lacks romantic and sexual aspects. Just like any other social relationship, a romantic relationship starts with mutual attraction, which is often described as falling in love. For some people, it starts with the so-called love at first sight. In other words, an attraction occurs when they meet for the first time, each believing that he or she has found the true love. We sociologists are interested in finding out what attracts them and makes them fall in love so quickly. Research shows that the primary driver for many people in this attraction stage is physical attraction. It is the perceived physical attractiveness by both individuals that plays an essential role in this very early stage of relationship, without which such a relationship will never happen. I emphasize the word perceived because beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. What you see as beautiful will make you fall in love, even though it may not be so beautiful for another person. In any case, for you to love someone, that person has to be physically attractive by your standard. Based on my observations and research, a romantic relationship does not always start with love at first sight. In fact, such love at first sight is quite rare, at least not as common as you may think. More often, it arises and develops out of an ordinary friendship. For example, you have a group of friends, and eventually you have your eyes fixed on one of them, and you want to take a step further and develop it into a romantic relationship. The question now is, why would you choose that particular person? Of course, perceived physical attractiveness plays an important role. However, there are also other factors at play. Over the years, research has consistently showed that people tend to associate with others who are similar to themselves. Basically, 4 types of similarity are most relevant. The first is demographic. There are many demographic aspects, such as age, education, race, religion, height, and level of intelligence. The second type of similarity is reflected in the socio-economic status of the two individuals, or more importantly, their respective families. In all these aspects, people who go together as friends, dates, lovers, or partners in marriage tend to resemble each other more than randomly paired couples. For example, based on my personal experience and observations, I can testify to the fact that college students who live together in the same dorm and who have similar backgrounds interact with each other more often than with those who are different. The third type of similarity is reflected in social values, interests, political opinions, and personality. Similarity in those aspects are important to a friendship as well. For example, people tend to like each other more if they believe they have similar attitudes towards something. The link between attitudes and attractions is most evident in newly married couples, which shows that people tend to marry those who share their political attitudes, religiosity, and values. However, it is interesting to note that similarity in personalities does not play any important role in initial attraction. Yet, it becomes more and more important once they are in a relationship. In fact, the more similar the couples are, the happier and more stable their marriage is as time goes by. Apart from demographics, socioeconomic status, and social attitudes, a fourth source of similarity is also at work. You probably don't need scientific evidence to show to you that dating couples or married couples are very similarly attractive or similarly unattractive. Very seldom do we see couples who are mismatched in terms of physical appearance, educational level, social status, and so on and so forth. For example, we feel more comfortable approaching those whom we consider as equivalent in terms of physical attractiveness. We often find ourselves shying away from making romantic overtures with those who seem to be out of reach. Having discussed the importance of similarities in a romantic relationship, let me answer a question which I often get asked and which I'm sure you have in your mind. What about the old saying that opposites attract? For example, if a man has a desire to dominate, will he be naturally drawn to a woman who seems submissive? Is it true that an introvert will be attracted to an extrovert? A lot of research has been done, and I myself have been searching, trying to find evidence. Is there any support for this view? Well, the answer is no. But it is not hard to understand why. Although opposites may seem exotic at first glance, over time the differences become too difficult to overcome. As a result, rarely do individuals in a romantic relationship exhibit opposite personalities or largely different social values or attitudes. In addition to similarity, there is another factor that plays a role in initial attraction, namely reciprocity. What it means is that love is a mutual exchange between what we give and what we receive. Liking is mutual, which is why we tend to like others who we know like us. The feeling of being liked by others is important to us because it makes us feel confident and comfortable when starting a relationship. It is almost common sense that we are drawn to the people who like us. When someone finds an individual attractive from a group of people and wants to start a relationship, there is still another social psychological factor to consider. It is the so-called hard-to-get effect. In our social interactions, we tend to like those people who are socially selective. In other words, we like people who are difficult to get. You may have heard about the popular notion that you can spark romantic interest by playing hard to get. If you are a woman and you have a crush on a man and you want to make him attracted to you, take this strategy. Don't call him and only occasionally return his calls. Or let him take the lead. In any case, the idea is men are charmed by women who are hard to get. So, pretend to be inaccessible or uninterested to make yourself more attractive. However, based on my observations, the success rates of this strategy vary widely from people to people. Finally, I must also point out that sexual desire and sexual attraction is very important in the initial stage of a romantic relationship. According to many studies, sex is a physical bonding activity which can increase emotional intimacy. However, it should be kept in mind that there are gender and cultural differences between sexes. Men usually have different mentality and attitudes towards sex than women, especially in Asian cultures. If the couple don't communicate clearly, there may be bumps in the development of relationship down the road. Men usually take sex for granted in a close relationship. They tend to think that they can express their love through sex. Therefore, they will feel confused and disappointed when they are rejected. The man would think, if you even don't want to have sex with me, how do you prove to me that you love me? And how can you expect me to love you? The woman, on the other hand, would think, if I don't know whether you really love me, how can you expect me to have sex with you? In conclusion, there are a lot of factors influencing how a romantic relationship starts and develops between two individuals. Perceived physical attractiveness is essential at the beginning. Similarities in demographics, socio-economic status, social values, and even in personalities play important roles. Finally, sexual desires also contributes to the formation of a romantic relationship. Well, I think that is all for today's video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.